On today's special episode, we are here at Sierra Pacific Materials on site at their asphalt plant in Paso, Robles. Hey guys, we're taking a plant tour of Sierra Pacific's asphalt plant out here in Paso, Robles, and we're starting out at the beginning where your asphalt product comes from. So Brian and Tim, why don't you show us where we're at, what we're standing on, and I guess this is the beginning of the journey for the asphalt and all the rock, how it's made.
That's right.
Yep, so as we look down, this is the ramp that brings you up to what we call a drive over here. You can see this grate that we use. The type of specialty hauling equipment we use is the bottom dump trucks. So the bottom dumps will come up here. They have full control of this radial stacker that you can see off here to my left, maybe your right. And all the different piles are identified. So if the driver knows if he's hauling half-inch or washed rock dust or 3/8, they know just where to put the radial stacker. This conveyor system will actually just put it right there into the stockpile. So from the stockpile, we can go on the other side. Actually, the material is handled with a loader into the pipe. You can take a walk around.
Well, and Shane, you look over here. We just right here where we can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different type of aggregates. So Tim, it's important not to cross-contaminate. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
exactly.
the drivers need to know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the drivers have to obviously know what they have on board, which they can usually determine by looking at their ticket. You know.
So the drivers themselves will come and they'll operate it, the stacker themselves, and say, I'm dropping this. And are they your drivers or are they outside haulers?
They're usually outside haulers.
Oh, so you got to make sure you communicate clearly with them, as you as the plant manager would say, hey, we got this, make sure you put it in the right bunker.
Right. And then we talked a little bit about logistics. You know, we have to know how much material we're going to go through on any given day. How many tons are we producing? Do we have enough material on the ground? I think probably what you see here, we probably have enough for, what, about 3,000 tons, Brian?
Right about there.
So we have enough material, raw material, the rock and sand, probably to produce about 3,000.
And then if I can, while we're up here, can I ask you what's behind you here? What are these piles that we're looking at on the back?
Okay. So we're a recycling plant as well. We take broken concrete and asphalt, and you'll see behind this huge piece of equipment here, this huge excavator, different types of disposed material that comes in. It can be an old road that Scott has torn up and he hauls it into us. We'll crush this up. And just in the background there, you can see that end product is like a road-based material. It's a recycled road base. So we take all that used concrete and asphalt and recycle it. So we're behaving with the environment.
That's right, yeah.
All right, so should we go to the next part of the tour for the what happens next after this? Let's go over there.
Take a walk around here and show you the next.
So here we are on the other side of the stacker pile that we just saw. And what happens here next, Brian?
So from here, we use the yard loaders to load our aggregate bins with the different aggregates for the hot mix. And to your point, you were asking earlier, Justin, what goes into this half-inch mix or a 3/4 inch mix? Well, in the case of a half-inch mix, it's not just half-inch with some sand. It's the half-inch sized rock with the 3/8 sized rock with multiple 1/4 inch minus size components. So yes, so we take those components individually, load them into the individually labeled bins, and via the computer control for the plant, it meters specifically a certain amount of each of those materials depending on what we're making. So the aggregate is metered here, sent on the collection belt, and is dried out at the heating kiln. I guess we could probably walk a little bit closer this way. See the transition from the bins to the heating element, since there is a bit of ground that we're covering here.
So the material, it looks like it goes from here on these conveyors and it goes up into this conveyor right here. Into the drum, right into
That's
the
right.
drum. Yeah.
Yes. And towards the back, and this is just another illustration of the dedication and the capital required to kind of meet all the specifications. This side here with this smaller silo is actually a lime application system where literal lime hydrate, that you could clean your bathtub with, is added in a small quantity to the aggregates with water, and then proceeds to dry out, and that actually helps with the bonding between the aggregate and the asphalt. That's the concept between lime or other anti-strip products. So this system here, if we are running a lime mix, which we currently are, it would be coated with lime here, then sent into the dryer. The burner end of the dryer on this one is a counterflow model, so the aggregate's coming this way while the flames shoot in the opposite direction. There are models that they both go in the same way. So burners on this end, rotary drum continuous mix plant. The aggregate gets dried in that center tube. You kind of see a larger shell pop out halfway down the tube, and one of the elegant engineering feats of this machine is the aggregate is being dried out on the interior of the drum. When it gets to the end of the drum, it actually falls out of the interior of the drum and is traveling on the exterior of the drum on that larger shell, that black shell in the middle. That's where we add the oil.
Oh, so it is tumbled in on the outside.
On the outside.
Okay.
So the oil is added in a location where there is no flame. There's no exposure of an explosion. In that
Right.
sense. So, and there's a spiral of mixing paddles that are actually on the outside of that inner drum. And so those paddles are what's basically carrying it on the floor of that outer drum and doing the mixing.
And then is it also augering it up to the shaft or to the elevator to take it up?
That's right. So
It works its way down.
it works its way down and then works its way back up.
Back up with oil.
To the elevator.
And is the oil continuous throughout the whole drum, or is it more in one section or the other?
It's just at the very, very end.
Okay, and then what's the maintenance on that? Because that oil is so thick and costly. Like right now, you're not running. Is that stuff set up in there? Do you have to reheat it and kind of lube it back up?
There is buildup. So we do have regular maintenance schedules where we open up the drum and we have to go in and basically chip out asphalt, chip
yeah.
out.
So someone
hardened
crawls
aggregate.
inside of there and
Yeah,
hammer and chisel?
Yes.
done a good job.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, another one of those hidden thankless jobs, in our industry.
Is that you?
So,
Are you
once before, but no, not here. Unfortunately,
You're a big guy. I don't know. It's a pretty small area.
But yeah, no, I usually am chosen for that reason. Hey, if you're skinny, you can get that cleaned up.
And then what is this kickback stacker that's feeding away from the drum? It looks like it's pulling some material out.
Good question, Justin. In fact, it ties into what you were asking. You were talking about earlier, Scott. Our recycled asphalt pavement. So again, we are an industry that's critically concerned with sustainability, and recycling is a huge part of that. There's really, we can rehabilitate and reuse the asphalt that are in our roads right now. That's that big push. And I know one of the California Assembly women, is a big proponent of it down in San Diego. Pushing higher RAP in the mixes. That's better for taxpayer dollars, and it's better for our environment. It extends our aggregate resources and our oil resources all around. It's a much more
Well, they're
recyclable
pushing for
product.
as much as like 75%, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's
So right now we're
mixes.
running wrap at what, 25 to 30?
We do 15.
That's 15 to
15.
17 right now. I remember, 'cause
Oh,
I remember went up and then they had to bring it back down because I remember having problems with mixes that was too much wrap.
That's right.
It was too cold and we couldn't meet heat specs.
There's a lot. There's more control that goes on, and
Yeah.
a lot of that has to do with the fact that there is oil in that material, and that oil is usable in the mix,
Yeah.
and it has to be accounted for. So there's a lot of testing and sampling of this material continuously going into the plant so that we make adjustments.
Is there any way to preheat it so it doesn't cool the new material down? Let's say you make a batch with wrap in it. Is there a way to preheat that, adding it in, or is it only warmed up on the outer drum?
It is added in, and so you could. It'd be harder for you to see, but there is the bins to add the wrap are here, and it's added right where you see this conveyor drop off.
Oh, so this is
into
the hopper
drum.
right here and the conveyor that goes for the wrap.
Yes, and this one here, this kick out one, is for basically diverting that wrap to get it out of those bins if we have to empty a bin and put different material in there,
Okay.
inside the wrap. There's a discharge in here.
Okay.
So yeah, this plant is while it's not it's not as large as some of the fire breathers that there are. This plant was engineered to take or be able to produce a high percentage of wrap.
Okay.
Because once you start getting to 30, 40, 50%,
brutal.
the
That's
plant
brutal.
has to be engineered for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of engineering and capital to
Yeah.
change that out.
Well, and just when you're making wrap, I mean, the material we talked in when we were in your office, the material, the aggregate and all that heating up to 315. Well, when you add wrap into the mix, you're pushing 330, right?
Yes.
335.
You're correct.
Right.
Up. Yeah.
They
yeah.
call that superheating the aggregates
Right.
for wrap. So
Yeah.
Usually we heat aggregates to 325 for normal stuff, but if you're using a lot of wrap, sometimes you're heating your virgin aggregates to
Even hotter
330,
to counterbalance the
350.
cold wrap going into it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's air temperature, room temperature wrap.
Yeah, but if
You
you're
know,
making it in
drop
December, it's a warm day out here right now. I think September now already. So if you're doing it in December, making a mix, that pile's gonna be pretty darn cold.
Yes, and it's kind of a side note on that. Us producers are sensitive to weather and the moisture content, in the air.
For sure.
It's
Or the moisture that gets into the aggregate.
Right.
and the moisture of the
Because
aggregate.
it's got to spend more time in the drum
Yes.
Right.
during
Dry.
December to dry it up.
I always thought that was interesting that you buy a plant and it's 200 tons an hour, but then the details are at sea level.
The fine
at
print.
this
The
temperature,
fine,
you know,
the
it's-
fine
Yeah.
print is
On the most perfect weather day of the
Yeah,
year.
Exactly.
right.
Oh, you're in Denver? Well, that's 150 tons
What,
an hour.
what's the most you guys have produced out of this plant in a day? Like, what's your record? 2,000? Or have you guys pushed it a little?
No, we've pushed it a little harder to like 2,200, but
Oh,
you're
nice,
talking
nice.
about people
Long
are
day.
paving,
That's a long, yeah.
pulling out the light towers.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a long payment.
Yeah.
But
It's a lot of material.
kind of
Yeah.
a good picture of what this plant does. We run at it's spec for about 185 tons an hour.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's what we can produce. If we have a lot of moisture in our aggregates, like you mentioned, Scott, or a lot of moisture in our wrap, that'll cut that to 140 tons
That's right.
an hour.
So does that mean on a big day like that, let's say you're doing close to, let's say 1,800 tons or
Yes.
even 700 tons, that drum is just constantly running all day then pretty much, for the most part?
That's right.
For sure.
Yeah, it doesn't
They're not
really
stopping.
stop. There's
They're
no
not
stopping.
stopping.
So
No.
that machine has to be engineered pretty well to withstand a lot of heavy abuse. I mean, you're running sand and aggregate and everything through it, which is abrasive and it erodes metals.
Yes.
So there's a lot of maintenance that goes into these plants.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. Yeah, I mean, geez, capital expenses just to keep those high amount of wear parts going. I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
So now we're at the next part of the asphalt. So this is the material storage of the actual asphalt oil itself, right?
Yes.
You want to go through that?
Yeah, so we have 30,000 gallons of available storage through 3 tanks, so that we can hold multiple grades of oil. There are softer grades and stiffer grades of the asphalt oil. And then of course there's also the cold mix formulations. We can also make cold mix material on this plant. So yes, the trucks haul in those 6,000 tons or 6,000 gallons of asphalt at the time, roll up over here, link up with our team, make sure we're pumping into the right tank for that material, and offload several times a day. We have a whole spill prevention control plan. We have a lot of safety protocols that our drivers engage in dealing with the hot material. Because this is to your point, the hot liquid black asphalt by itself.
Right.
Yeah.
And then is this a staged tank? Do you hold different materials in it, or is it all one continuous drum?
This one is split.
Okay.
So yes, it is a split tank.
Okay, so you can hold 2 different materials at a time.
That's right.
PG6410 and maybe a 7010 in the other chamber, or
That's right.
It's an SC800 for cold mix.
okay, and that's more of an emulsion, right?
Right, we haven't been in a production mode of making like some SC800, but we've got a big job in the next couple weeks.
Okay, and then as you were telling, this is a rubber plant, so this equipment doesn't belong. You guys just contract this equipment out when you need to make a special rubberized mix, right?
That's right, Justin. So the bags of rubber, there's one right there, is added in at makes up about 20% of the asphalt with rubber blend. And it's this crumb rubber. that just looks like cottage cheese when it's all blended into the asphalt, and its final product is a black cottage cheese type product.
Okay.
And yes, that's this equipment is.
Does that melt into it, or does it stay as a solid crumb state?
It turns into like something that straddles two. Where
Okay.
it's
It just looks like
solid,
black dust.
but it swells up into more of a gelatin.
Almost like black dust.
Oh yeah, you feel it's like it is rubbery.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tires,
This is
sneakers.
This is
Whatever.
probably the
Yeah.
sneakers.
You're missing a pair of thongs. They're probably in there.
Yeah.
They actually have. There's actually two sizes of this that we use. There's this smaller size here. There's another size that's about twice the size of this. It looks a little bit more like a gravel,
Okay.
coarse gravel. Yeah,
That's really
in fact,
fascinating. It's
yeah,
small.
this is high grade natural rubber or rubber from sneakers and like new sneakers, like bad process or whatever. Same thing with tennis balls, bad process but not old ones. That goes into this product that they call natural rubber. And then the crumb rubber is the ground up rubber tires, used rubber, in that sense. So we're still diverting waste streams because otherwise the shoe manufacturers and the tennis ball manufacturers would
They're
just
gonna end
send
up in the
that.
landfill.
Yeah.
That's
Landfill,
right.
or do they
Yeah.
burn it still?
Or they could burn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could go to a cement plant.
I don't think you can do that in
Go
California.
to China,
Go to
let them
China.
burn it. Yeah. light them up, let the tires light up. Yeah.
Now they're burning wind turbine blades to make cement.
Right.
So yes, this is our liquid storage area.
All right, so let's go to the next part of the process.
All right.
Here we are in the next part of the tour. We are in the control room, which looks like an air traffic control tower. And there's a lot of buttons and gizmos in here. So why don't you take us through what all this means and what the operator needs to see out the windows and all about the control tower.
Let's see. Maybe no. I believe our plant manager probably would be better suited for this. But let's see if I can make him proud or not. So yes, this is where all the magic happens. Everything is controlled from here remotely. There is the ground man involved, and he is the eyes and ears and hands of what's happening up here. So the mix computer, which is off currently, is separate from our loadout system, which is here. So this is what we utilize to load out the material from silos and bill it. Making the mixes from here, utilizing these keyboards, and then a lot of which allows us to enter the mix information, monitor the mix. But a lot of the monitoring happens downstream on the push buttons. Believe it or not, you can monitor.
See all this shit.
Yeah.
It looks like a bunch of Italian flags over here.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's not. That's funny. Yeah, why
Red or
is
green,
it?
red or green.
Get that blue out. Get the green out of there.
Yeah.
You could monitor each of those individual bins out there and control them manually or automatically through the computer. You could kind of,
So each section of the plant has its own control panel, and that's what the operator is doing here to work the magic to actually make that final mix.
yes, approximately.
Okay.
Yeah. So you got dry aggregate feed coming in here. You've got
The Rat King.
yeah. In fact, that's the name of this plant.
Oh, really?
Is the Rat King? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But so yeah, the drag slat, silo controls are here. Burner controls are over here, and then bag house controls and a couple other items are on the very end. Lime. So yeah, the bag house has a couple monitors on it, monitoring air pressure through it, and that kind of gives the status of the health. Multiple temperature sensors throughout the plant to monitor mixed temperatures, aggregate temperatures, air temperatures, and then all the guts to all of these items are underneath here. Multiple high-end sensors for measuring the oil, measuring the aggregate are placed throughout the plant. In fact, Scott, that's what you were mentioning, and you were too, Justin, as far as once a year Caltrans comes and checks all this stuff out, and they do. It's gone through, and Armando, our plant manager, he calibrates everything proves it to traceable weights and temperatures,
Yeah.
and Caltrans signs us off on that.
Aztec.
Twice a year, actually. They do this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And Aztec made this plant, right? This is an Aztec plant.
Yes.
And so when there's updates and things like that, do they come out and like update computers, or is that a necessary thing? Like, or is it once it's done, it just
Right.
kind of everything's in place and that's it?
Usually, they turn it into a legacy system where, you know, this plant is. I'm going to get in trouble on this, but it's over 10 years old.
Okay.
So
Oh, wow.
And so, software, they do update it from time to time, but if you were to buy an Aztec plant now, it's not going to have the same software that
No.
they're using here. You know, but they still support
Well,
the
10
software.
years. This is like a dinosaur,
it
right?
is, right.
Yeah.
So the new ones have
I mean,
French
the-
flags instead of Italian flags?
That's right.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
German flags, Belgium,
Yeah,
big
yeah,
Belgium.
yeah, Belgium, yeah. Yeah.
We gotta get some American flags up
Yeah.
there.
But it is strange because Aztec is, I believe, American, you know, based. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But all the mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah.
are
Canadian or American or something. Yeah.
Where's the asphalt feed there, Brian?
So our asphalt meter that shows how much asphalt is actually going into the
Oh,
mix
down here.
is down here,
Okay.
down below. Those meters are pretty slick. They can tell you density, weight, volume, rate,
Wow.
you know, temperature.
Because these are all hooked up to micromotions.
That's right.
That are down below.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
it. That's the
Yeah.
term, micromotion.
Yeah.
Looking out here, this window, it's kind of cool. It's like an asphalt and concrete wonderland. You can see the concrete plant there. There's another asphalt plant down the street. So this is happening area.
This is Asphalt Alley right here.
This is
Asphalt
Asphalt
Alley,
Alley.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
For Asphalt Paradise.
Yeah, that's
Paving
right.
Paradise,
Yeah.
Asphalt
Paving
Alley.
This is
Right there.
Paving Paradise in action right here, guys.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
And, you know, Justin, you bring up a great point. The elevation for a lot of these mining operations and manufacturing operations, the visual of the plant is so critical. There are facilities that, especially when they get more spread out, we're a little tighter in here, where there's a lot of video footage, you know, for conveyors, transition points,
Right.
hoppers, just all these things that if there's a bridge or a plug up or oversize, anything like that, it can be caught ahead of time and save tremendous amounts of money and productivity.
And so you were saying there's an operator up here in the tower.
Yes.
And so there's a bootman or a guy on the ground. So how many people does it take to run a plant? How many people? Because for all this equipment and how big the area is, say you're on 5-6 acres out here, you only need 3 or 4 people to run this whole place?
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty amazing.
That is. I mean, of course, there's all the back support for bringing commodities in and everything, but for the most part, just running the plant itself. That's right. There's a guy in the control tower here, our plant manager, the ground man, and
Loader operator.
The loader operator.
Loader operator, yeah.
Yeah, so a loader operator, guy and a skip loader or a big front end loader is what I'm
Keeping
looking
those
for.
bins.
And keeping the bins
Keeping the
full
bins
and shuttling material around.
yes.
And then I don't know if Shane, you can come and see this, but we were talking earlier about with this type of plant, there's a little bit of waste at the beginning. With Scott mentioning
Yes.
that you use this dump truck that's getting beat up down here, and you offload the waste into there, and then you throw it back into the rat pile. So you have a dump truck
The
here on
port
site.
truck.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, unlike with that batch plant where you're weighing up a determined amount of oil in a pot, same thing with the aggregates. Because we're introducing a stream of oil into a continuous process, it takes that 1 minute, 60 seconds or so to catch up. But in 60 seconds, we've already made 2 or 3 tons.
That's right.
So,
Right.
hence 5 to 15.
And that's a brand new truck.
It was, yeah. No,
2020.
yeah.
They don't treat it well.
And from here we kind of have an okay view. You can probably catch a chain with the silos. Plant manager and his team, they're also responsible for ticketing out the trucks. The silos hold the material over a set of scales below, so we can take the tare weight of the vehicle before we add the asphalt to it, and then know exactly how much asphalt is being distributed.
Actually, that's a good point. Instead of going downstairs and standing under the chute, it's quieter up here. Maybe we can show that's where the trucks get loaded, right underneath the silo. They drive through that tunnel and they get loaded down here. I don't know if Shane, if you want
And
to
they're
get
sitting on a scale.
Yeah, and they're sitting on a scale, so they know how much weight is metered out. There's a big scale. What's the smallest truck you've ever loaded? And can someone with a little Toyota 1989 Toyota pickup truck come in there and
You get 3 wheelbarrows.
yeah, exactly.
Give me 3 wheelbarrows.
Or what can you load and what is the smallest? Or can you turn people away and say, hey, get out of here, you're a joke?
We try not to turn people away, but it does get creative as far as, we can make mix into a loader bucket and feather
Oh,
it
that's
in
true.
Oh, wow.
to somebody's vehicle that way. Of course, we cold mix can be loaded like anything else and best suited.
So you'd have to
actually,
tear
because
away the loader itself to figure out how much weight is in the bucket.
Well, we would just get the bucket out from there, and we would actually treat that person more like an aggregate sale.
Okay,
where
okay, got it.
we'd get a lightweight, fill them, do a heavyweight.
So you have done creative little small. So some plumber or something that wants to patch
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
a driveway.
Half
maybe
ton,
kinda-
1 ton, 3
Yeah.
tons.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
where all the fun stories come from,
That's
right?
right,
You know, with
that's
the plastic bed liner shrink wrapping the asphalt after the guy said
Yeah.
that it was going to be okay, and
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't see the exciting, funny stories with the big trucks too often.
But typically you got end dumps and bottom dumps come in here, like a 10-wheeler or super 10 end dump down a long bed. And then you got bottom dump where the V1s, which will windrow it for the highway paving jobs.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll load both of those here, no problem. We do have signs. I'm sure that's another source of good stories. Armando probably has a lot more than I do, but people knocking their hay exhaust stacks over on
Oh, yeah.
On the clearance for the silos and sort of things. That happens from time to time. And again, the professionalism of the employees that get it done, help prevent those.
Right.
Stopping people from doing stupid stuff.
And when you load the truck, it's usually in a couple of dumps, right? So you'll have them dump, they'll pull forward, maybe have them go back a little bit, and then load the middle, right? I mean, I've seen that before. Where they'll dump the front,
Yep.
they'll back them up, dump the back, and then you have a camera in there that can kind of guide them.
Usually like 3 dumps on a 10-wheeler, Armando?
Yeah.
3 dumps?
Armando's hiding off camera.
Armando's
I know, yeah, I know. He should come up here.
He's the rock star and he's hiding down there. You know?
Literally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Scott loves
Rock star,
Armando.
yeah.
He could not wait to see him today. So.
and our teams do some remarkable things to make it happen. Relative to long shifts, as we're beholden to what's going on with our customers out in the field, and if we got to be here longer, then we're here longer, and that doesn't make the next day start any later.
Yeah.
So they put in a lot of time. It's a time intensive activity.
And as you can see, there's so many moving parts. People don't think it's just, that's just the asphalt. Just to making the asphalt, I mean, you have to make sure the equipment doesn't break down, everything's getting fed at the proper scales, weights, and rates, and then it all has to come together just perfectly, loaded, and then we have to put it down at our temperatures so we can get a good product to the customers. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, amazing amount.
Well, and I know the last couple of weeks talking with Armando, I mean, most of the work that Justin and I do, it's day work. But these guys have been working nights,
Yeah.
and we're paving days, so these guys are pulling doubles.
Yeah.
You know, and Armando's on the
You're
phone
waking
with
up
me.
and he's already got 12 hours.
Oh yeah, exactly right. Armando's calling me. Hey, let me know how much I can silo so I can send these boys home so they can go sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, these guys are really.
I'm sure you'll
they're
run
pulling it off.
a couple
yeah.
shifts too if you have to, right? I mean, if you have to bring another guy in
For extended periods
yeah.
of time. And that's kind of speaking to what we were talking about earlier today. It's these people are highly skilled people.
You can't just get somebody off the street to come in and run this thing. No way.
No. It takes years of training. Starting in positions like a loader operator, which has its own skill set that you need
Right.
to build up.
But then he understands what's going on for the whole process, and he can move up, maybe be the ground guy next, and
That's
then
right.
you can move up to the plant guy.
There's a lot of like you mentioned earlier, and like we see, there's a lot of moving parts. Any one thing can go wrong across this whole area, and these guys have to be able to pinpoint it.
Well, your finger slips and hits the wrong button, and you've got 2 feeds feeding into the machine at once. Yeah, I mean, it happens. Yeah.
There's and
Yeah,
it does
he's never-
happen.
yeah.
There's a lesser experienced people. You don't see experienced people do this too often unless they're having some issues. But people in training, people the younger crowd getting into this. I mean, I've seen some messes, with people falling asleep at the controls. Really, those night shifts are brutal. Mining notoriously has a lot of night shift work too, and I've seen it. It's really bad. You know, when somebody falls asleep on the controls and the plant is just like, let's go.
That's
and
not good.
Stuff
Yeah.
builds up everywhere.
That's the stuff that makes a good reality television.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I just want to appreciate you guys' time here today. It's taking
you
up
guys
a lot of
make
time.
sure- yeah, you
guys
Thank
make
you
sure-
for
yeah.
a cool in-depth
Yeah.
tour.
Appreciate the
And then,
opportunity.
how do people? Let's say there's local contractors out here in San Luis Obispo County or California got a job out here. How do they reach you guys so they can
You can
get?
find us on our website, www.sierrapacific.com, or on Facebook, LinkedIn. You can get a hold of us at primary sales number is 805-226-2273.
Boom. There you go.
Yeah, and then
Give it to him again, Tim.
805-226-2273.
Nice.
Yeah, and Shane will put it on the bottom of the screen
Yeah.
too. And then
Awesome.
we'll talk about finding people. One last point. I mean, if there's guys out there, I mean, people don't realize that there are career opportunities. You know, you graduate from Paso High. I don't know what the high schools are out here.
Oh, you're right.
So
Yes, there is
yeah,
Paso
so
High.
like maybe they might want to find a job locally. This could be a good opportunity to start out. So you guys have like a web page or whatever there on Sierra Pacific
We
Materials.
do deal for employment
hiring.
opportunities.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think
we-
on your website, there's,
Yeah,
or at least
sure.
on Pappage's website, there's careers.
Yeah,
Right?
on
'Cause
Sierra Pacific as well.
And
Oh,
where,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
where would a young guy, let's say he graduates high school and he doesn't want to go to college or something, how would he go about getting a job out here? Because we're always trying to find good qualified people. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of the youth out there don't understand that there's stuff like this out there.
Hand them a broom and a shovel
Exactly.
and say, get going.
Yeah, that's how you and
that's
I
how
would
you
do
start.
it. But
That's how you
same
start.
out here, I mean, how would you, like, because this is a really high-tech equipment, so how would you crawl up to
we're
people?
using
To Tim's point
Yeah.
earlier that you mentioned, and my backstory is similar, is quality control.
Right.
You know, Tim started in quality control. I started in quality control and lab work, and that is something that a young person out of school or vocational college or anything like that could easily join in at that entry level type position. You know,
So getting the foot in the
similar-
door, lab work, and quality control, and a QC lab, and all that stuff.
Still a lot of training. We devote a lot of money, time, seminars to our QC technicians to train, but they're not in direct control of,
Pushing the button.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
right. $3,000.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. $30,000 an hour.
You didn't find a guy on ZipRecruiter and just throw him up here?
I know, right? So it is. I mean, you could get to there through labor, as a laborer, like you said, get a shovel on the ground, into mechanicking, into operations. All those paths have a lot of pros and cons. To having people on the team that come from a mechanical background, come from a business background, come from a
Right.
manufacturing background.
Well, and as we've
safety.
stated, and as we've stated before in other podcasts, and we've said today, paving isn't going anywhere.
Right.
I mean, this is
Yeah, the roads, the potholes have to get filled,
Yeah,
and the
I mean,
roads need repaired.
I never imagined me taking my career to this point, but there was a point in time where I realized, hey, because I had plans of college and all ideas of grandeur, but then I realized, hey, I can make a really good career out of doing what I'm doing. Same thing here, making asphalt aggregates. I
Built
mean,
a great
young guys can make a great career, and it's steady. I mean, especially here in California, it's the only time we take a break is when it's raining.
Yep.
Right.
If it's not raining, we're making mix,
We're paving year round.
or you're making mix and I'm putting it
That's
down.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
We are always accepting good help.
That's
You
good, yeah.
cannot refuse someone that is passionate about wanting to learn something, wanting to start a career. This is
well,
a
and
great
as we know,
industry.
there's a lot of knuckleheads out there. So
Is it SierraPacific.com or SierraPacificMaterials.com?
Materials.
Materials.
Okay, so SierraPacificMaterials.com.
SierraPacificMaterials.com.
Check it out, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you down the road. Thank you, guys.